Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm farrukh Pitafi. Once again we are going to talk about India-Pakistan peace and possibilities. I am saying this because the Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, while he was on the two-day visit to Turkey, there he gave an interview to Turkish news agency, and there he said that Pakistan is ready to talk to India actually, and it is ready to talk to India, and the only provision or precondition is that there are concerns about Kashmir. There are certain issues which need attention. India will have to alleviate the concerns first, and then we can have all the dialogue that is needed. And then he also pointed out, and this is very important, that at this moment, while we are going through all the international crises, dialogue between India and Pakistan is the only way forward. He mentioned Sir Tariq, he mentioned Kashmir, and various other aspects as well. Before we actually talk about the hopes of peace, because there is this drip of leaks in the Western press that perhaps there is a back channel dialogue going on between Pakistan and India, although nobody from the official circles of the two countries have confirmed any of that thing, anything of that sort. Before we go for the discussion, I introduce a panel. There is a clip of the Foreign Minister. Let's first listen to that.
The demographic restructuring and re-engineering that they are trying to undertake in Jammu and Kashmir is a clear violation of the Fourth Geneva Convention, and Pakistan has serious reservations. And Pakistan has made no boast. I have written several letters to the Secretary General of the UN, to the President of the Security Council, keeping him posted, keeping him involved on the irresponsible knee-jerk reactions that India has undergone, and the measures announced on the 5th of August 2019, and thereby putting at risk stability and peace of South Asia. Pakistan is approaching, whether it's the issues that we have with India or the issues that we see within Afghanistan, we are looking at things positively and constructively, because we want peace, we want stability, and we feel with peace and stability this region benefits.
As he pointed out, there are concerns on Pakistan side about what India is doing in Kashmir, and that is not all. We have seen that publicly India maintains a muscular posture, and then in the media and from foreign leaders we keep on hearing this desire for peace. If you remember President Donald Trump, when he was in office, at that time he pointed out that Narendra Modi had personally asked him to intervene and mediate on the matters pertaining to Kashmir. But what happened after that? Immediately after that, we saw that India decided to do away with Article 370 and 35A. So in this environment, if there is a talk that is going to take place, what is going to be the parameter of that talk? And then, of course, if we ask our Indian friends that why is it that these things are not made public, they keep on pointing to certain spoilers from their side as well. We are going to talk about those possibilities too. Who exactly might be the spoiler? The impression earlier was that Indian Prime Minister represents the hard right of India's politics. So who else does he concern himself about? We are going to talk about all these matters in order to help us understand these issues. In the studio, we are joined by Dr. Saif Malik, who is Director, India Study Center, Institute of Strategic Studies, Islamabad. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Additionally, he is also my teacher. Next to him is Dr. Vikas Ali Kausar, who is an expert on foreign affairs, and hails from Kashmir. So that is an added introduction. Thank you very much, Dr. Shah, for being part of the program. On Skype, I'm joined by Dr. Jameel Ahmad Khan Saab, former ambassador, career diplomat, and prolific writer as well. Dr. Saab, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Let me start with the guest in the studio, Dr. Sat Malik. The question right now is, do you see any possibility of revival of dialogue process between India and Pakistan?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Combination of both.
I mean, you reminded me of Schrodinger's cat. I mean, yes and no, alive and
Yes.
dead simultaneously.
Yes,
Yeah.
if India shows seriousness and sincerity this time, not only ceasefire on the LOC, rather India must show some tangible positive steps in illegally Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir,
Right. Right.
especially in the form of liberties to the people, especially withdrawal of their forces, and above all, they have to revoke. They have to be pre-5 August 29 position which they made. Then yes,
Okay.
it is possible. In the absence of all this, if they say let's start business, let's have cultural interaction, let's have people to people, let's have some other interaction, then I don't see any meaningful overtures towards India.
Right. And since you have actually attached too many caveats here, do you think that there is any possibility at all of them being fulfilled or met?
If there is possibility, then they should have some indications of that.
Is there any indication?
No.
Apart from LOC's
It is
ceasefire?
just LOC and ceasefire, and secondly, LOC to me reckoning, it is a tactical move.
Right.
Just to portray to the world that Pakistan, India, we have started discussion, and they are posing to the world is a bilateral issue. We are going to sort it out.
Right.
This is what they are pretending to the world,
Right.
but this is not the case.
Right. Dr. Bakas Ali Kausar, there is something very interesting going on. On one side, when Narendra Modi only tweets his best wishes regarding Prime Minister Imran Khan's health, we see that it is deemed a confidence-building measure. But when Pakistan offers oxygen and PPEs and God knows what regarding COVID situation in India, there's barely a mention. To this point, I haven't seen any reaction coming from India, right? It might indicate some kind of hubris. If there is hubris, is there any chance of peace talks resuming soon?
See, on possibility of Pakistan extending support to India during this COVID crisis, I mean, we need to see two things broadly. One is that after a long time, BJP's government came under tremendous pressure within India. I mean, there is now open criticism from the all section of society, particularly the way they are dealing with the COVID situation and the way they have conducted the rallies and all these things. It was quite irresponsible actually on their part, and that's all and sundry actually saying the way the situation is, it's very scary and very sad. And but it's on the other side, it's a total failure of the government. The way, I mean, they had a time of some space that where they could muster in resources, pull in resources and all these things, but they were unable to do. And I guess this has also put a lot of pressure on their government, and it would be very difficult for them to take, that thing from Pakistan, because you have built primarily constituency based on, anti-Pakistan, the way you have contested your election. So I don't think so. It's very easy decision for them particularly.
Right.
To do that.
Right. Here's the concern that you just at the start said that this for the first time everybody is criticizing the Indian government. We have been there earlier as well. Demonetization, Kashmir itself, then CAA, then farmers, protest. At that time, we thought that Indian government was under humongous pressure. But it doesn't seem that the Indian government, publicly at least, has any reverse gear.
See, when it comes to Kashmir, let's accept that may it be BJP or the Congress, the attitudes largely towards Kashmir was the same. So there was no difference. I mean, if you see the laws and all these things, that's a very sad thing that we need to admit that there was not much difference when it comes to occupation.
Yeah, but nobody ever did what BJP did to Article 370 or 35A. That has been done already.
See, that's how they have framed their politics within the country, the way they have shaped actually this 370. What was the idea? You know, that's the main criticism that you have told and shared with your people, that this will bring prosperity in the region, this will bring integration and all these things, but it didn't happen. The question is, right now the situation of the COVID is more alarming. I guess within farmers, you know what happened? The rhetoric, the narrative which was created again was divide at that time as well. But this time, across the board things are happening, and it's a very sad situation.
Because people are dying.
That's very scary situation.
Right. And allow me to actually bring in Dr. Jamil Ahmed Khan Saab. Dr. Saab, you are listening to the commentary of our guest here. The question at this moment is that the imputation we get from the coverage of India-Pakistan relations from foreign press is that Modi government is under pressure because it thinks that on its side there are people who might scuttle any efforts, and that's why it wants to keep everything hush-hush. I thought that Narendra Modi represented the very sentiment that we are told that he might be fearing. So what exactly is the nature of spoilers on India's side, sir?
India's side basically is the covert pressure which has mounted. So the opposition, BJP, one thing is to be noted, that BJP, they have their fixed constituency. They have not a large number of swing votes in BJP constituencies. So that one thing, Modi understands that he has a constituency based on his rhetoric of radicalism and all what we have been discussing, RSS type of approach, which was the election campaign in their manifesto and all. But coming back on that the pressure which they are getting now is A, that their civil societies, B, that the Congress, C, that the independent voices there, and even the scholars, they've started criticizing based on the way things are being handled in India. So the bigger question is, to what extent Modi government can come under pressure? Now, once, as you were mentioning, that they have sustained the pressure. Kashmir, after revoking 370 and 35, and also farmers very huge and a very strong campaign. They have sustained that. Are they going to, or would they be able to sustain this pressure from within? Is there any international pressure? At this point in time, international pressure doesn't seem to be that high, although the impression of India definitely has shrunk down. But otherwise, Modi, would he come under pressure? Yes, economic pressure is there because of this pandemic, and the pressure and criticism from the independent voices. Yes, it's definitely there. Why he wants to now, why he has agreed now to engage with Pakistan, starting from the message to Imran Khan on the Independence Day. And they want to engage it because they have a pressure, one from Chinese side, although they are in dialogue also. They don't want that pressure from the Pakistan side. That means they are now trying to gain time. Would they be able to we all say that yes, they must revoke.
Dr. Saab, I get that. My question now is, why is it that we have to actually refer to the possibility of secret talks all the time? Why can't this happen in public? I mean, there is hardly anything to fear anywhere, right? Because peace building usually all over the world is thought to be a good thing, and to my knowledge, there isn't a single country outside South Asia that would not want both countries to actually work together and resolve their disputes amicably. Dr. Jamil.
I lost your sound, but yes, I got your question. That's right. In fact, in India, at this point in time, they definitely would like to go ahead with whatever actions they have taken in Kashmir. Regarding the secret talks was there with the consent of both sides. This is back-channel diplomacy, as you mentioned, and in which both the intelligence side of the both countries, they participated it fully well. And the facilitator, which you can call it 1.5 track diplomacy. So UAE and no one less than Yusuf Otaifa, who's a very important figure in UAE and an ambassador for the last 10, 12 years, the UAE ambassador in Washington, who has facilitated MBS, who has facilitated so many other things, Israel, UAE relation, Israel, the Saudi Arabia relation. So I know him personally because of my stay there and because of my tenure there in UAE. So once these people are involved, that's track 1.5 diplomacy also. So coming back on the secret talks were made, to my understanding and to my impression, it's made to make the foundation, and obviously it has to come to track 1 diplomacy, and they have to really come publicly. What has been happening in past?
Right.
What has
That's
been happening in
an
past
interesting point, sir. That is an interesting point, although there hasn't been any confirmation from either of the official sides, India or Pakistan, but we keep on seeing this drip coming from the Western press, and there seems to be, I at least got this impression that usually it is Ajit Doval who is actually tipping the Western media off. And simultaneously in public we keep on seeing this muscular posturing. Please help me understand, why is there such a disconnect? If I want to build peace, at least I start indicating that I want to build peace, right? If I'm privately doing something, then publicly also, at least my talk and walk should reflect that. Why not?
Okay, you raise very interesting point as well. Just try to understand the what's going on in India, especially the decision policymakers, who they are. This BJP, to my reckoning, this is the political wing of RSS.
Right.
When there is some softening or opening towards Pakistan, would the people sitting at the helm of there, whether they are in the civil military bureaucracy, their judiciary, or elsewhere, they are not seeing any welcoming postures.
Yeah.
Whereas, drip by drip, in fact, this is how the international diplomacy works. People come in the backdoor diplomacy, also channels work.
Let me qualify the point that I'm trying to make. India, throughout its history, at least bilateral history, has been saying that we don't negotiate through media, right? I understand it. If you want to actually keep on working through a back channel, and there have been reports that it started back in 2017, and then there was a pause, and then December 2020, it has taken some time already, right? The problem is, if you are not negotiating through media, why are you telling the media about it and indirectly?
This is what the dichotomy on their part is.
Right.
I think they should open up. They should devise a mechanism of talk with a stated standard agenda.
Okay.
So these are the points which we are going to talk in various phases. And they should at least point out those agenda. This is what my apprehension is. Until unless a well-devised, well-charted out mechanism supported by a standard agenda does not appear
in public.
Yeah. This diplomacy is not going to pay dividends, at least in the short term.
Right.
Not at all.
So you are basically talking about a structured dialogue, right? Let me go back to Dr. Bakas Ali Kausar, and while I do, let me ask the panel, production panel, that there is echo in the program that actually makes talking difficult, right? But Dr. Bakas, there seems to be something new that is happening, right? December 2020 is the time when the new government in the US was about to take over. And there seems to be a change of heart immediately when there is a change in Washington. I mean, do you want to tell me that there is this amazing, transformation that takes place, and it is not for the sake of optics? And if there are optics involved, is there a possibility that given there might be some pressure on New Delhi and Pakistan, of course, so the Indian side is basically using the media and all this talk about talk to distract or deflect from what exactly India is doing inside or outside?
See, there are two possibilities to each, as there is no confirmed news on that. One is, of course, the news which we came across is about India approaching.
And then Dr. Saab, Ambassador Saab also mentioned that UAE ambassador today.
And then we also heard that in December 2020 there was some Indian side approach that towards Pakistan to start initiate sort of conversation backdoor, what we have come across. See, of course, there are multiple factors. One, we need to understand one important factor, that, of course, there are external dynamics, pressures, and of course, these both nuclear power. I mean, they were at very close to war situation in when we saw after post 5th of August. We have seen. The fundamental question is, I mean. On the Indian side as well, that we see there's a change of strategy as well. We also see that because, I mean, it's I don't say that it's very optimistic or something, but we have seen that they have tried and tested everything in Kashmir right now, but it didn't work actually the way they wanted. Suppression is there, civil society crackdown, all these things are there, and they generally say, no, see, there is no violence, there is peace, but I guess it's totally a negative peace, and that's open there, that's there. So it didn't work. So that was on pressure, always there. Secondly, I guess there is also regional dynamics when it comes to US. Of course, there's a pull out of US from the Afghanistan, and it is Pakistan, of course, as a very important country geographically placed near Afghanistan as a neighbor, first neighbor. I mean, it's very important for Pakistan as well. And to see changing dynamics. I mean, there must be a bigger pressure on Pakistan in the western border. You never know what's going to happen post their withdrawal. So there are multiple factors and issues. No, but one important thing.
December 2020, with due respect, the concern that I'm actually flagging here is that before, the elections that took place last year, there was this impression that the liberal world order is on the retreat. And that's why any country with power can get away with whatever they want, as long as they're buying military hardware from Washington. Now there seems to be a different standard, that once again they talk of human rights, human right abuses. There's talk of possibility of nuclear escalation, right? Remember, at that time, when after Baath took place, there was hardly any mention of these.
True. No, that's I mean, in my understanding, that is yet to be seen, that how it frames in next couple of years. That is, are they ready to uphold the democratic values, the Western side, particularly when we see the U.S. government, of course, this Democrat government is, of course, believes particularly on these values, democratic liberal values. But fundamentally, just one thing I just want to add on to that, when it comes to the India-Pakistan peace process. Of course, the hostility at this time is unprecedented. The situation is unprecedented. It's not the usual bilateral or maybe engagements or the confidence building measures or approachment the way it was, in the past, because post 5th of August situation is different. For Pakistan, even it's very, very different. That's why when we come across this news, there are some conditionalities that Pakistan says that the onus lies on the India, because the process, the problem is of also trust. If you open up this up, and of course there is no trust at the moment right now between these two parties. One important thing just to want to mention that, of course, this trust has to be reciprocated in the valley as well, which is over there. That could be in the form of course, civil liberties.
But here's the point. LOC is a tactical level, solution that we saw happen. What else have we seen coming from New Delhi, with the exception of Narendra Modi's students? I mean, they're not CABMs. They are thought to be part of diplomatic niceties. If a world leader or regional leader falls ill, you tweet and you say, get well soon. When there is a national day of a country, you send out a message that with the best wishes for the country. What else have you seen coming from New Delhi? A word.
See, I agree. I agree. What I just want to say is that, see, the problem with the peace building initiatives across the globe is that it's very incremental and it takes a lot of time. And
but then why are we hearing a lot of voices coming from Pakistan that there should be peace?
See, the peace on the cost of what? I mean, nobody is denying peace. Peace is something which is essential for all of us.
Yeah.
Nobody denies. For Pakistan even, when we say from geo-strategic to geo-economics, all these things, the peace for us is very important. Peace for India right now is very important. Peace for region is very important. There is no denial to that. I guess they have to build piece by piece. They have to see. Fundamentally, one thing I see what we have read is that they are trying to address issues side by side instead of composite thing and stacking on and trying to address low-hanging fruits and all these things. This is encouraging. But the fundamental question
you're talking about Sir Creek plan.
maybe, but the fundamental question is over approach, and particularly fundamental question that lies post with the August situation has changed. We have to address and we have to see that to what extent that situation is eased, to what extent the fundamental political rights of the people of Kashmir is addressed over there. That can build a trust and confidence to move forward.
Right, Dr. Jameel Ahmed Khan Sahab, we are talking about the possibility of peace. The question right now is there going to be any new developments in coming days that we can look at and say that, look, a peace process is underway? I say this because everything that is coming at this moment comes from Islamabad officially. From the Indian side, with the exception of that letter and that tweet, I haven't seen anything substantive, anything substantial at all. Do you think that those low-hanging fruits that Dr. Waqas Ali Kausar is talking about might be within reach?
No, well, I think it's too early to say about that because we have not really reached to that pedestal, that platform, that we start negotiating on the Sir Creek or the other low-hanging fruit type of conflict. But the basic point here is that India, why they are not that eager or why they are reluctant in having this dialogue and reaching to some solution. Point is that is the world willing to put in the multilateral pressure on India? They have not done it so far. What could be the bigger pressure than the reports was presented by no one less than the Human Rights Commissioner with tears rolling down his cheeks. So, and then world did not really take much action against it. Now, our foreign minister, which is the clip which you showed, has mentioned about international law, violation of international law. True, it's a violation of international law that 370 was revoked, 35 was revoked, but then there are remedies available. For if someone breaks the law, then there are remedies available. If it's at the country level, then it's in the country. If it's at national level, then there are platforms available. For example, the foreign minister has mentioned about.
Can you give an example of such fora?
This what exactly
you were talking about 370 and remedies, right?
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of those fora? Because with the exception of lawfare, it doesn't seem that there are any mechanisms to actually resolve the matter.
Right. I will cite you the article and the international piece of international law, which foreign minister himself mentioned about the Geneva Convention. Now, Geneva Convention, Article 49, basically, of Geneva Convention, it very clearly stipulates that you cannot change the demography or you cannot change the very status of the disputed territory. That's number one. Number two, if that happens, if any conflicting party or if any country does that, then it tantamounts to leading it to an additional protocol, which is additional protocol of Geneva Convention, Article 20. And if even that is violated, then comes the International Criminal Code and Article 8 of the International Criminal Code, which leads to the war crime. Now you ask me about the forum. The forum is Security Council. And what are the ingredients which are given to the Security Council? I know there are questions that who would support us. It would be vetoed. But fine enough. But at least we have to create an environment to take that and try and get it formulated in the agenda of Security Council. There is a mechanism in General Assembly. There is a mechanism. So all
Dr. Saab, for the sake of argument, somebody would say that Pakistan took it to the UNSC twice. Actually, China took the matter, and there was an in-camera session after which we didn't see any progress at all.
Why we didn't see any further progress in that? That it was not brought on the formal agenda of the Security Council. It was discussed in camera. It was not even published what it was discussed. So it was basically a cosmetic effort. Why there was a cosmetic effort? Because at the multilateral level, we were not able to do the public diplomacies in those P5 countries in particular and other Security Council member countries where we could put in some bottoms up pressure of the people on the basis of human rights, which we have been always advocating and we have been always informing the entire world about the human rights violation, not us. As a matter of fact, whatever we have been saying and whatever we have said in last 5-10 years, it all has been compiled in that Human Rights Commission. So that is sufficient base to invoke those international articles of law which I just quoted and which Foreign Minister has also quoted. So from that angle, your question that why the Security Council has not moved, because Security Council is a international political forum. What international political work and multilateral diplomatic and political work we have done, I think we needed to do more on those counts. I am fully mindful of the fact that we don't have those much of resources to really create that environment in those respective countries, that the public of those respective countries, they come out on the roads and then and then pressurize their government. And then our respective embassies have been writing note for bad to those countries. I think there would have been more possibility of engagement with those respective countries to synthesize them about what's going on in Kashmir and on the basis of international evidence.
And that's a very good answer, sir. Let me actually bring in the discussion to the guest here in the studio. And let me ask Dr. Malik about this possibility of internationalizing Kashmir issue, right? The problem is that we keep on referring to various, international moras and laws and conventions. India has been moving its goalpost since 1948. And first it started talking about bilateralism. That again continues to be the international refrain. Then now they talk about a two-tongue internal matter, and nobody should be talking about India's internal matter. Is there a possibility of finding a solution to what happened in Kashmir, not bilaterally but multilaterally?
In fact, this is the right time that the intervening force is required.
Okay.
Had it been sorted out the issue bilaterally, it would have been done long earlier. We should have not waited for 7 decades. So one cannot rule out the possibility of third-party mediation. And who would be the third-party mediation? UNSC, US, or some other forum?
Okay.
So
there have to be a forum, not a country.
Not a country. There has to be a forum. Had there been countries, then they would have sorted out the issue. Pakistan, what has been pursuing and to communicating to the world, delaying resolution of the issue means we are asking for a big trouble to the world as well. Again, any miscalculation on part of either side may turn this South Asia into hell, and its fallout would be felt by the rest part of the world as well. This is what Pakistan has been time and again has been asking. Another forum is this, Ambassador Jamil Khan was referring to the lawfare as well. I think there are hundreds of the evidences, not only accounts of human rights violation and other within the India as well in the last 2 years, especially in the second term of the Narendra Modi. FIRs are there. This could be collected. A case could be prepared with the help of our law experts. They may move to the International Court of Justice, especially what is happening in Kashmir, and especially this annulment of the Article 370 and 35.
Why is such a delay, Dr. Saab? I mean, it happened ages ago. I mean, in 2019, August, right? Why haven't we done it already?
I think better late than never.
Yeah, but that is not the answer to my question.
But still, we need to work very hard to collect all those evidences. those are available. And to prepare a case, we can go to the International Court of Justice as well, especially on account of human rights issue.
Okay.
Especially on the annulment of this Article 370 and 35A. These are two very strong issues or even. And secondly, even within the India, there are so many voices of conscience which are moved to the Indian Supreme Court.
Yeah, but the problem is Indian Supreme Court has seen two changes in past 2 years, right? Their Chief Justice changed yesterday or day before yesterday as well. In both instances, we have seen a deliberate effort to quash everything about Kashmir. And when it comes to Ram Janam Bhoomi Mandir, there they accelerate everything and they give the verdict. But when it comes to Kashmir, CAA, other aspects, they are silent.
That is why I mentioned earlier as well, in all organs of the state and the state functionaries, there the RSS people are sitting.
Yeah, and
from the BJP.
Yeah, but RSS is quite an interesting aspect, and that's why I have to actually bring in, with your permission, Dr. Prakash. Dr. Prakash, we keep on talking about RSS being a presence that keeps on intimidating the current Indian government because Modi is a member also, right? The concern that I've actually heard coming from the Indian side is that RSS right now is nearly a boogeyman. Why? Because it was a competition between, head of RSS and Narendra Modi in 2019. RSS didn't go out of the way to actually support Narendra Modi. They wanted to have Nitin Gadkari as the next PM candidate. And actually, Narendra Modi vanquished them. And that's why now RSS is also playing the second fiddle. At that time, this whole impression of somebody not agreeing with Narendra Modi, no matter what he does it even seem plausible?
See, one thing we need to admit that Modi, particularly in last 5 to 7 years, the way he has built his persona and the way he has built his political persona and stature across India, power, that was quite powerful and unchallengeable in one way or the other way, what we have seen. That's when you were initially talking about different issues, including farmer and their internal crisis. And of course, Kashmir is not that their internal matter, that's something separate. Even there was not a big challenge to them because of the way he has portrayed and the way he has, totally dominated the parties. Plus, on their institutions, if we see, there is a lot of debate and criticism within India that even right now during this crisis, when he was holding a lot of big mass rallies and all these things, their election commission didn't intervene, the Supreme Court didn't intervene.
Today a High Court calls the election commission murderers of common people because they didn't stop people from congregating.
So that shows how it destroys the institutions or maybe the legitimacy.
Has practically destroyed it. Election commission out of the window. Parliament, within 24 hours, you introduce a bill, pass it at the stroke of midnight and get away with it, no debate. Then Supreme Court, then the media and social media.
See, we need to also see how did this happen and why is it happening? Because politically, if you opt a democratic way within a country, you do a secular politics or you do a politics of principles, and then you create power structures within society, that is also challengeable, but that's also accountable. But once you build your power structure around those things which are not very much democratic, but which are very much exclusive and I believe in isolating people and communities, that's quite challenging. That's quite challenging in the society, particularly to challenge as well. And once you are there, it creates a lot of problem within the society, and that's what we are witnessing.
And as you earlier pointed out, there seems to be a symbiotic relationship between situation in Kashmir and the rise of RSS. Because, for all Indians, Indian Congress and other parties actually created this blind spot when it came to Kashmir. And that's how, using the rhetoric in the valley or in the state, they used hate to rise to the top.
True, but just one thing adding on Kashmir. where we need to see when Pakistan say that they need to create a conducive environment. That has to be operationalized, the word conducive environment, because what we see that there's a series of action taken by that government, particularly BJP government in Kashmir post 5th of August. That's not only the abrogation.
Yes,
That's the
not
change
one,
of,
5 or 6.
domicile or change of domicile and all these things. When we see the one already said about the 370, I mean, for us the important thing is the state subject rule. See, 370, we never accepted that initially as well. It's a part of Indian constitution. That's over there. For us, that the state subject rule, the 35A, is more important. The people living in Kashmir. That's related with their identity. That's about their political fundamental rights.
Absolutely.
So those all series of actions that did away with the autonomy, identity, language, local land, empowerment, that is important to address and understand.
And I need a very quick reaction to one more thing that actually came from an Indian friend of mine who said that in order to reverse what happened in Kashmir, Narendra Modi only has to ease pressure on Indian Supreme Court because the entire, the way it was actually, the amendment took place is a pack of cards. It will collapse with a blow, a small blow, right? Is there a possibility that this might happen?
See, because on the ground what you have introduced is that DDC system, that local council and all these things. And now what is the dispute there? They are saying that we have to be, and we were told to treat as equal to minister, but they are now downgraded them as well. This is a message for the local people of that Gupkar alliance, that those for the election, that at the end of the day it didn't work.
Right.
So I guess anything which is not addressing the concerns of the people and which is which you enforce without the will of the people doesn't sustain long.
Right, and even though in the past we saw that gradually there would be support of whatever the New Delhi government did, this time we are not seeing that kind of growth at all. Whatever is happening is cosmetic. Hopeful about peace or not? India-Pakistan. One word, yes or no?
Yes and no, both.
No. See, that's not an answer.
So that's one thing then I can say, not in one word, but two things, that if there's a sanity, if there's a sanity prevails,
Where?
and in South Asia particularly,
Okay.
and the Modi government particularly thinks of changing the dynamics.
And that's the question. Do you think that sanity will prevail?
I guess you cannot delay the justice.
Okay, right. Dr. Malik, very quickly, you want to come in, please do, but are you hopeful or not?
Certainly not.
Right. That actually gives me the answer, very clear answer at this moment. Let me ask our third guest, Dr. Jameel Ahmad Khan Sahab. If you want to add, please do, sir. But are you hopeful that there is a possibility of some kind of breakthrough between India and Pakistan? This question needs a yes or no answer, sir. But you can add whatever you want to.
Very hard to really rest my hope on the peace in near future. But in the longer term, the global situation is changing, and India might as well come under that pressure, multilateral as well as within their own country, that they might start moving towards peace. They don't have much choice. In fact, with two nuclear countries, they can't have a full-fledged war. As you have heard it, Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister, and so many other statements, the entire world is concerned about it. So, in the near future, the short answer is, in the near future, one cannot really raise the hopes to that level.
Right. So the answer is no. So two no's and one maybe. Right. On that pessimistic note, I have to thank all the guests who have joined me. Dr. Jameel Ahmad Khan Sahab, thank you very much, sir, for your precious time and your valuable opinion. Dr. Seth Malik Sahab, thank you very much, sir, for your precious time. Always great having you in the studio. Same goes for you, Dr. Bakas Ali Kausar. Thank you very much for your precious time as well. You have listened to our participants. Now, these things are such that since my childhood I've been hearing about these matters, that there has to be and there will be peace between India and Pakistan. They say that the proof of a pudding is in its eating. And I want to actually taste that pudding so that I can say with confidence and tell you that there is hope for peace. Unfortunately, whatever we have seen in New Delhi in past 7 years, not even past 2, actually doesn't prove that there is any hope from the Indian side at all. I want to be wrong. Let us hope I'm wrong. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.